Hello everyone, my name is David Doley. I am a high school math teacher at West Central Valley in Stewart, Iowa. Currently I teach geometry, college algebra, and calculus. This year I decided to take on the role as our activities director and kind of got thrown into the mix, so that has been a real learning curve for me. Lots of headaches, but it's a good challenge, and I think going forth I'll be ready to go with everything that I've collected over the year. And that led me to my research paper on the effects of extracurricular activities on academic achievements among high school geometry students. Currently, in our school district, we have a real problem with students not participating in extracurricular activities. And I think that is a significant disadvantage that we have because our kids don't realize the benefits to participating in these activities, and I feel like they are missing out on key skills and knowledge that they can gain through our school-sponsored extracurricular activities such as leadership, self-discipline, endurance, grit, team camaraderie. And I think our teachers, coaches, and parents must really encourage these kids to go out for these extracurricular activities. Most research, past research, has agreed with me, although there are a few exceptions to that. There's some research out there that says that participating in these extracurricular activities really can hurt academic achievement because that student will put too much time in the activity or the sport they are in, and this in turn does not help them in their academic achievement. It consumes their lives and turns their schoolwork, as it puts it on the back burner. So another one is socioeconomic effects. There are some families that just don't have the money to afford pay-to-play programs such as AAU ball in the summer. So they're not able to have their kids go off to camp or go to tournaments during the summer and pay for that. They simply cannot afford it, which then they believe that, oh, if I can't afford this and my kids aren't going to play during the summer, then it's not worth playing at all. So this in turn takes them away from their the percentage of students that are going out for these extracurricular activities within the school. There's no doubt each student needs to have equal opportunities for extracurricular involvement, and most schools do. Small schools, I believe it's harder. Bigger schools offer more things, so it's really important that our small schools really offer the same amount of activities as the large schools do. Lastly, parents. Parents are a huge factor in whether or not their child is going to participate in extracurricular activities. And parents are a huge motivational and driving force. If a parent played or participated in a certain activity, their child is more likely to also participate in that activity. The objectives of this research, the purpose of this was to find hopefully a positive correlation between extracurricular participation and academic achievement within GPA scores, Iowa assessments, and MAP scores. Also, I was going to take a look at the number of office referrals, unexcused absences, and unexcused tardies within the student population that was under observation. The second part of this was to find the perfect, if you will, number of activities a student should participate in to maximize their academic achievement, whether that be no activities, one activity, two activities, or three or more activities. In this research, I used 49 participants, and they consisted of my two sections of geometry. Within those 49 students, I had 2 11th graders, 37 10th graders, and 10 9th graders. There was not a single IEP or ELL student. There were 26 males and 23 females, and 12% of them were on free and reduced lunches. As far as the GPA scores were concerned, I gained those scores through the use of JMC, which is a student record management software that most schools use. The Iowa assessments are taken annually at our school, and I looked at the reading, math, and science scores, and the measures of academic progress, or MAP scores, which are taken on a computer every year at our school. Some schools take them twice a year, which would be nice, but we take them once a year. And it uses a RIT score, which is the level at which a student answers questions 50% of the time. I took all these students, these 49 students, and I broke them down into how many activities they were involved with in the school over the last calendar year, whether that was 0 activities, 1 activity, 2 activity, or 3 or more activities. And that, when I compiled my data, that's what I used when compiling the data. So I took the students that participated in 0 activities, and they were my baseline data when I did this. In my results, my hypothesis for this study was that participating in extracurricular activities will in fact boost academic achievement within our school district in those 49 students. And my hypothesis was supported very much so. It was a direct correlation between participating in extracurricular activities and boosting academic performance. And this study shows, when I did my independent samples t-test, that was very significant. The direct correlation here, the t-value, was at a 4.852, which was outstanding. The average GPA scores among the participants involved in 0 activities, 1 activity, 2 activities, and 3 or more activities were 1.89, 2.87, 2.98, and 3.12 respectively. So again, a significant difference amongst those kids with GPA. The more activities they were involved in, the higher GPA score they had. When we look at the Iowa assessment percentile ranks, again, if they were in no activities in their reading, math, and science, they scored significantly lower than those that were involved in the activities. Now, I know there are a couple maybe that if you look at science, if you participated in 2 activities, you actually scored lower than those participating in a single activity. But again, those 3+ participants are higher. So across the board, it seemed like the more activities you're involved in, the higher Iowa assessment scores you had. MAP testing, very similar as well. Again, these are done on the computer, but I still could look at the math, science, and reading, and across the board in all 3 subject areas, the multi-activity participants scored significantly higher than the non-activity participants. And then the single and dual participants also scored higher than those participants that were not involved in anything. Lastly, I looked at the unexcused tardies, office referrals, and unexcused absences. And I know there's not much to go off of here, but the averages still lean towards those students that are involved in more activities have lower unexcused tardies, lower office referrals, and lower unexcused absences on average than those that they were compared to that did not participate in extracurricular activities. Some limitations to my study was that I did have a small sample size. I only had 49 students. There were no ELL and IEP students. And if I look at this, the few 9th graders that I did have, all 10 of them are advanced math students. They took algebra as 9th graders. So they are in geometry. They took algebra as 8th graders. They're in now geometry as 9th graders. So they're the best and the brightest of their grade. And so I look at this, and I do have pretty good students, I guess. So it might not be a total representation of our entire school or every school. much less our school district. The time frame, I only had the fall semester to compile data, so I had to look back to last year, 2015-2016 school year, to get my spring data. And my particular class that I am teaching in geometry, I have two large classes, 25 and 24, which most of the classes in our school are anywhere from the 10 to 18 on average. And so I feel as if, I know that's not a lot, but there were some distractions going on, maybe more so than compared to a classroom of just 12 students. Some recommendations going forward would include having a larger sample size, maybe taking the entire school. So you also throw in your seniors, the 12th graders. And it would also include more of a diversity with the ELL and IEP students. And you could really dive into not just looking at 0, 1, 2, or more than 3. You could go into that 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 activities and really narrow down that ideal number. If I did it again, I would take the larger sample size and really split that up. Another thing to look at, I think, going forth would be the amount of hours spent on extracurricular activities, and maybe that is more important than the actual number of activities, the time spent on them. You could be in one activity and spend a lot of time, or multiple activities and very little time. And I really wish that I could have done this over the entire school year, from start to finish, going from maybe August to August. I think it'd be more of a consistent data. Going forth, what did this prove? What did this show? I think that our parents, teachers, coaches, our adults, our role models really need to encourage our students to participate in these extracurricular activities that the school has to offer. They might need to take a leap of faith and get out of their comfort zone and make new friends and hang out with other people, but I think in the long run, it's the right choice that's going to have endless rewards for them, whether it's intrinsically, extrinsically. I think that students really benefit from these extracurricular activities that our schools offer. And lastly, I think smaller schools must really make sure they're offering a multitude of activities for students. I know it's bigger at the large school to have those, so our small schools need to hold up their end and offer all those activities. I know it gets tough, it's a money thing, but our small schools really need to pull their weight and offer these activities for students. So I guess my charge to you going forward is that you really do your best to encourage our students to take advantage of the opportunities available to our students within our school system. We have a variety of extracurricular activities, whether they're sport or non-sport activities, and the results speak for themselves. The students that participate in extracurricular activities are more likely to succeed academically and outperform their peers that are not involved academically.